The Byakugan. Simplistic, it has almost no differentiations. Unlike the Sharingan, the Byakugan doesn't really evolve, not standardly anyway. Mutations? Yes. 6 Paths Enhancement? Yes. Other step-ups? The Sharingan has a Mangekyo State, an evolution from the main eye that makes it stronger. So what about the Byakugan? It does not need these things. It does not need a Mangekyo State. It's already strong enough that if you know what you're doing, you can make full use of it in a style as deadly as, if not deadlier than, the Sharingan. This isn't an entirely new concept. Before, I told the story, What If Naruto Was a Hyuga? If you haven't seen that yet, I'd recommend you check it out. But in that story, I had him adopted by the Hyuga. Now, in this story, I don't think I will. In this story, I want him to simply have the Byakugan. Nothing new added. How does he have the Byakugan? Glad you asked. See, I have this idea that what if he got it for being an Asura incarnate? Asura was the son of Hagoromo, and though in the original timeline he inherited no dojutsu, what if he actually did? After all, the most common dojutsu among Otsutsuki is the Byakugan, and in filler episodes, Hagoromo actually displayed that he had them. So what if, in this timeline, Hagoromo passed the Sharingan to Indra, and passed the Byakugan unknowingly, because maybe it never awakened, to Asura? And now, Asura has passed the Byakugan to Naruto, not via genetics, just via his chakra. That should make a moderate amount of sense. And now that we have all of this pounded out, I'd like to start the story. But before we do, welcome my friends to the wonderful world of the Amagi. Before we start, only 25% of our viewers are subscribed. So if you're a fan of the video, please like and subscribe. Now, let's begin, shall we? A metal sheet, brittle and weak like glass, reflecting back the image it saw to the one who looked into it. Naruto couldn't have been more than 6 or 7 years old. As he stood there, looking into the mirror that stood before him, he couldn't help but notice that his eyes were now large silver orbs, like pearls. They were very pretty, but highly disorienting. Naruto just woke up one day and they were like this. What was it? And why was it that now everything looked so weird? It was like looking through a fisheye lens. Frankly, Naruto was standing in front of the mirror because he was about to brush his teeth. Why? Well, it wasn't because he hadn't brushed his teeth today already. It was because of the disorienting nature of his new vision that made him sick to his stomach. He felt like a fly on the wall, seeing everything at once. His mind couldn't make sense of everything and had grown dizzy, which resulted in him losing his lunch. That being said, he wasn't focusing on that. Instead, he was too preoccupied with this new development in his physiology. He wasn't scared like most probably would be. He thought he had seen something like this before in school, but he wasn't sure when. That being said though, he called the only adult on his speed dial, Hiruzen, and asked him to come make sure he was okay. Said he got sick and something seemed strange about his body. Hiruzen, of course, probably began to think that the Ninetales was getting out, so he dropped everything and rushed to Naruto's apartment as fast as he could, ready to perform a new sealing ritual on him if need be. Knocking on the door, Hiruzen called in. "Naruto, if you can hear me, please open the door." "It's already unlocked, Oji-san," Naruto's voice called out. Hiruzen twisted the handle and pushed the door open. He walked through the apartment. "Where are you, Naruto?" "I'm in the bathroom." Hiruzen stopped by the door. "Are you okay? Can I come in?" "Yes." Hiruzen began to slowly push the door open, seeing Naruto brushing his teeth. Hiruzen stepped in and looked around. "You said you were sick," he said, peeking into the toilet only to see nothing. "Yeah, it's not that bad, I'm just really dizzy." "What's changed?" Hiruzen asked. "This," Naruto said and pointed to his eyes. At first, Hiruzen didn't know what he was looking at. He wondered if they could be cataracts. At such a young age though. As he looked into them, he spoke. "Can you see well?" "I can see everything actually. I can even see the back of my own head." Hiruzen pulled back questioningly. "You can?" Naruto nodded. He put his hand behind Naruto's head and lifted his index, middle, and ring finger. "How many fingers am I holding up?" 3. "And also, you might want to trim your fingernails. They're getting pointy like a witch." Hiruzen pulled his hand back around and looked. He actually could use a trimming, he thought. It began to occur to Hiruzen that Naruto might actually be in possession of Byakugan. But how did he get it? Something was very strange here. It shouldn't be possible. "Are you almost finished brushing your teeth?" Hiruzen asked. Naruto nodded. "Okay, then spit and rinse. I think I'm going to take you to a doctor to make sure you're healthy." Naruto almost seemed to panic. Do you think I'm dying?" Hiruzen smiled and shook his head. "No, I don't, Naruto. I just find it very strange. It seems like you've formed Byakugan, and I don't think you're a Hyuga. You're not in any physical danger by any means. I just want to know what happened and why, okay?" Naruto nodded. Hiruzen smiled. Good boy, now go, get your shoes on. Naruto ran toward his room, running into the corner of the doorframe as he did so. Shaking his head, he ran off again. Be careful, Hiruzen called out. Getting his shoes on, he came back. Something feels weird. Hiruzen looked down and saw that Naruto had put his shoes on the wrong feet. He must not be used to his Byakugan yet. Dyslexia and inaccuracy are actually quite common in Hyuga children who have only just awakened their Byakugan. Hiruzen lifted him up. Do you think it would be better if I carry you? Naruto said yes to that with a smile. It quickly became a no when Naruto realized that the bouncing and elevation from the ground would make him even dizzier. Let's just say Hiruzen had to stop by the laundromat first. Sorry, Oji-san, Naruto said with a hint of shame in his voice. It's okay, Naruto. This time, why don't I just let you walk and you hold my hand? And if you start feeling queasy, let me know and we'll stop for a rest. Getting to the doctor, Hiruzen sent in a call to Hiyashi Hyuga about this, who was shocked to hear that a new set of Byakugan awakened randomly, and promised to meet Hiruzen before too long. The doctor went over his eyes. Yup, looks like Byakugan. Some internal structure. How did he awaken them? Is he Hyuga? Hiruzen asked. The doctor shrugged. Only one way to find out. Pulling out a syringe, he drew closer. Naruto froze in place, his original inquisitive nature now suddenly like an antelope, aware of a lion's presence. Now just hold still and I'll... Naruto suddenly jumped onto the wall, onto the ceiling, and back to the ground behind the doctor. Making it for the door, he ran into the frame again, being put upon his rear. Hiruzen tried to catch him, but before he could, Naruto was up and gone. He raced through the office, trying to make for his escape. As soon as he got around the corner, he ran into a pair of robed knees. Looking up, he saw the judgmental stare of Hiyashi, whose arms were crossed. Grabbing the boy by the collar of his shirt, he carried him back to the examination room like a naughty cub. Don't make me paralyze you, Hiyashi said as he sat him on the bench. Thank you, Lord Hiyashi. He drew some blood, much to Naruto's chagrin. Naruto, Hiyashi, and Hiruzen would wait outside as the doctor ran tests. Coming around, the doctor spoke. Results are in. Hiyashi Hyuga, you are not the father. What's that supposed to mean? Hiyashi asked. It's my way of saying that Naruto is not a Hyuga. No genetic markers placing him anywhere near being a member of your family. Hiyashi was confused. Run the tests again. Something doesn't make sense. I did, sir. I ran his blood against yours and against all other Hyuga on record. He matches none of them. There's a 0% chance that he has Hyuga blood. That just doesn't make sense, Hiyashi said. Well, you see, it's possible that he and you share a common ancestor, but other than that, there's nothing linking you two together. Where his Byakugan came from, I have no clue whatsoever, but I know for certain there is no genetic connection. Hiyashi couldn't believe that, and decided he wanted a second opinion. Then, a third opinion. By the end of it, he had asked every doctor in Konoha, military and private, to examine Naruto's blood sample. All of it came back the same. No connection. As Hiruzen sat in his office, Hiyashi paced back and forth, unable to wrap his mind around it. The Uzumaki clan has never been known to awaken the Byakugan. Something isn't right. We need to check and see if maybe they're transplant. They're not, Hiruzen said. We had him get an x-ray to check, remember? There were no incision scars on the nerves. Furthermore, Naruto has displayed the ability to turn them off from time to time, which is not something a transplanted Byakugan can do. You just have to face the facts. Naruto has Byakugan now. Hiyashi stopped for a moment and stood still, thinking. He needs the curse mark. Hiruzen cut his eyes over to Hiyashi as the long-haired man began cooking in his head. He needs the mark. No, he does not. He's not a Hyuga and should not be put under Hyuga control. He possesses our Kekkei Genkai. We are custodians of the Byakugan. He needs to receive the mark or he can't have our Kekkei Genkai. Hiruzen stopped. What does that mean? Hiyashi stood there. What it sounds like. Hiruzen stared into Hiyashi for a moment before shaking his head. No, I will not allow you to claim the Byakugan Naruto awakened. He has no genetic proof that he belongs to your clan. He's an Uzumaki through and through. I knew both of his parents, and so did you. You will not put a mark on him, nor will you remove the eyes from his head. If you try to do either, there will be consequences, Hiyashi. Drastic consequences. And what's that supposed to mean? Hiyashi asked. Are you planning to do the same thing to us that you did to the Uchiha? You wouldn't dare. Hiruzen stood. That was not my decision to make, Hiyashi. Hiyashi then spoke. Wasn't it? What do you believe yourself to be, Lord Sarutobi? You're the Hokage. Everything is your decision to make. If you didn't make that decision, then someone went behind your back and did it for you. They have been dealt with. No, they haven't, Hiashi said. Face it, Hiruzen, you will sit there and talk of consequences, but you've never once imposed such a thing on anyone. The Third Shinobi World War? You traded so many lives and so much honor just to get peace 3 days early. The Uchiha, I know what happened there. I know about the uprising, but did that require the innocent to die along with the guilty? 4 out of every 5 Uchiha that were killed had nothing to do with the uprising. That was a cultural cleansing, and you dare talk to me and my clan about consequences. For all I know, you would let us be destroyed. But you know what? I don't think you will, because you need us. The Uchiha were a large part of Konoha's military might, and now that they're gone, the Hyuga are pulling that weight. For you, and you dare threaten us. Without us, this village would be nothing. It would be consumed by every other nation around it, and you know that. You won't do jack shit. You never have, you never will. Hiashi left the room. Hiruzen stood there for a few moments before sinking back down into his seat. Propping his head up on the table by his hands, he took a deep breath and sighed. Pulling his fingers down so his eyes may be exposed, he looked over at the wall of all the Hokage to ever hold office. Hashirama, Tobirama, Minato. He spoke straight into the second Hokage's image. Tobirama-sensei, what am I supposed to do? He could feel Tobirama's glare. Tobirama had never smiled. It was such a rare thing to see as his expression. He was so analytical, not too unlike Orochimaru, though the latter was more expressive. The only expression Tobirama ever seemed to display was a cold, calculating disappointment with everything, as if he were judging everyone and everything he looked at. And now, as Hiruzen sat there, he felt the eyes of Tobirama directed straight at him, as if saying, "You failed us. You failed me. You were not worthy of the title. I should have given it to another." "Maybe you should have," Hiruzen said, holding a mock conversation with the second Hokage in his mind. His eyes turned to Minato. He heard in his head the promise he had made Minato, that he would protect Naruto. And as he thought about what Hiashi had said, he began to fear that Hiashi might do something. Picking up his phone, he dialed a number. "Yes, get me Team Ro. I have something for them to do." Inu sat outside of the building, looking upon a house. To his side was Tenzo. The two of them were pretty much all that was left of their small team ever since Itachi had flown the coop. A story still burning in their hearts. The deaths of hundreds, all of them at the hands of their former ally. The same ally who had been so passive. He had seemed to be a pacifist, but all the while he spoke of how much he hated war and killing, Itachi was Anbu, sitting at the very center of war, at the dirtiest point of killing. Kakashi had always seen it as weird, but now he knew it was all an act. Considering what he had done, how he didn't need to actually do it, and the supposed reason given by the only survivor. Itachi was a liar, a scam artist, and this had left a bad taste in Inu's mouth. "Hey, Kakashi," Tenzo said. "Yamato, you can't use my real name when you're on task," Inu said. "Well, you just used mine." Kakashi rolled his eyes. "What is it, Yamato?" "The way that Lord Sarutobi spoke. Do you think the Hyuga will also turn on us? And need to be..." Kakashi looked over. "Whether they do or don't is not our decision to make. It's Lord Third's. We're just doing our job." "I don't think I can do it," Yamato said. "Our team was responsible for the deaths of all of those Uchiha, those children." For a moment, Yamato flashed back to his time under Orochimaru's care. How he had been taken from his home and experimented on, along with countless other children. How he had been the only survivor. Survivor's guilt, and the guilt of being connected to Itachi, who had done something so evil. And now the fear that he might be ordered to do the same to the Hyuga. He wasn't sure his heart was strong enough to do it. Kakashi wanted to reprimand his subordinate for questioning orders, but at the same time, Kakashi felt the same. He had seen enough death to fill multiple lifetimes. He didn't want to see more. "We just have to hold out hope that nothing will happen. You know Lord Third doesn't want anything bad to happen to the Hyuga either. What comes next will be the Hyuga's decision, not ours. All because one little boy gained a Byakugan. I wonder what's so special about him that he can upset the balance in Konoha. The balance in Konoha has been this way since the Uchiha clan downfall. The Uchiha were seen as threats to the village since that night 7 years back, but most agreed that the response was too far. Some blame Hiruzen for that reaction, for a lack of strength, saying it's his fault that so many innocent people died. Perhaps Lord Hiashi is simply angry about that. Angry and worried. There may not be any threat to our village right now, so don't worry about it. We're just here on guard duty. If we're lucky, we won't have to see anything happen to anyone." Kakashi continued to look through his monocular. He saw Naruto in his kitchen eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. He sat there and proceeded to chow down. "Who even is this kid anyway?" Yamato asked. As Kakashi watched, he spoke. "Someone very dear to a couple I cared about." Yamato looked up. "You know the kid's parents?" Kakashi remained quiet. "I won't pry if it's too painful, but if possible, I'd like to know if there's a reason that he awakened the Byakugan, and if it's because of them." "You're not paid to ask questions," Kakashi said. "Technically I am. Anbu investigate as well." "Yes, but you're not paid to investigate this, so sit back and be quiet." Yamato let out a sigh. "Fine." Some time passed and nothing seemed to be happening. It was the dead of night. Naruto had long since gone to bed, and Yamato was beginning to fall asleep where he was sitting. Kakashi was remaining ever vigilant. As Yamato's Z count began to rise to a couple of units, he was startled back to consciousness by Kakashi's foot. "Nani?" He sat forward. "What's up?" Kakashi put a finger to his mouth as to say, "Hush." Yamato rose up to his knees and began to look at what Kakashi was pointing at. From this vantage point, they could see Naruto laying in bed asleep. But what was disturbing is that there were flashes of light in the living room outside of his door. Beams of light sweeping the floor and everything else. "Someone's in his apartment," Kakashi said. "Then we need to do something about it," Yamato replied. The two of them began to jump from rooftop to rooftop. Getting closer, they saw a shadow in Naruto's room as a hand holding a cloth covered his mouth. For a moment, Naruto was startled awake before passing out again. Whoever did this loaded Naruto up onto his shoulder. Kakashi and Yamato both pulled their tantos and a couple of shuriken. "Be careful not to hit the kid," Kakashi said. Yamato nodded. Kakashi led the charge, jumping from the roof through the window. Landing over Naruto's bed, he rolled to a stop. Yamato was close behind. Seeing one of the shadows peeking at him, Kakashi threw his shuriken, only for the guy to dodge. There was much scrambling and the sound of voices giving orders. They were leaving the apartment. Kakashi and Yamato rushed into the living room and saw the group exit. Chasing after, they saw them jump over a railing to a rooftop below. They began escaping in that direction. Yamato and Kakashi followed after closely. As they chased, Yamato spoke. "Kakashi, I'm nervous. What if it's the Hyuga? Who cares? If they're defying the Hokage's orders, then we have to kill them. But what if this leads to the destruction of the Hyuga clan? What if the loss of the Hyuga leads to the destruction of Konoha in general? We can't think about that now, Yamato. Get a grip. We have a job to do." Yamato nodded. They passed over the wall to the outside of Konoha. As they ran through the forest, Kakashi tried to throw kunai out at the shinobi escaping with their prize, but he missed. "Tenzo!" Kakashi called. "On it." Yamato began weaving hand signs. It was a good thing they were in a forest. They were in Yamato's element. Wood release, nativity of a world of trees. Suddenly, the entire forest around them began to warp and twist. The best thing about this was he didn't have to waste more chakra forming the wood required to do this. He was nowhere near Hashirama Senju's level of expertise. It was best that he had trees around, as he could make use of his techniques without wasting more chakra than needed. The forest seemed to come alive as the shinobi bobbed and weaved through every branch and limb. Suddenly, they passed by a certain tree with many vines. The vines reached out and grabbed the shinobi's legs, dragging them back. The shinobi attempted to cut themselves out. Suddenly, a vine wrapped around Naruto and pulled him free. The strange shinobi pulled their weapons, foregoing the surrender Kakashi and Yamato called for. The group scuffled with Kakashi and Yamato until every last one of them were dead. As they stood there looking down on the bodies, Yamato couldn't help but feel fear. Reaching down, they pulled off the masks. They weren't Hyuga. Yamato let out a sigh. Though they had hidden it, they possessed the marks of Kumogakure on their forehead protectors. Kakashi stood there, looking at them for a moment before shifting his attention to Naruto. Jumping up into the trees, he cut the boy free and cradled him in his arms. Looking down as the child slept, he felt a bittersweet pain echo through his heart. The friends he had lost, the family, everything. Yet now there was a chance to share a connection he had felt long since was severed. "We need to return him to Konoha." Kakashi and Yamato were in the office of the Hokage, explaining everything that had happened. "We killed the offending shinobi. They appear to be from Kumo." Hiruzen thought about it. Remembering the Hyuga affair, he recalled how desperate Kumo was to get their hands on the Byakugan. They would even attempt to capture a 3-year-old girl just to take her eyes. It was no surprise that something similar would happen to Naruto. Hiruzen would mention this to the Raikage in a meeting, and of course the Raikage denied it, saying that he had no shinobi in the area, but the Raikage wasn't above lying, as Hiruzen knew all too well. It wasn't long after that Hiyashi showed up in the Hokage's office. "I heard what happened. Kumo has their dirty hands back in our business." Hiruzen nodded. "Indeed." Hiyashi stood there for a moment before rolling his eyes and sighing. "Look, Hiruzen, I'm sorry about what I said last time we met. I said a lot of disrespectful things that were out of line." Hiruzen waved his hand. "No, what hurt most was the realization that you were right all along. I'm not the strongest Hokage to exist. I cannot ward off other nations. I can't even protect one child, let alone a whole village. It was then that Hiyashi spoke. I know you want to protect Naruto, but so long as his Byakugan are not protected by a curse mark of some sort, he will always be in danger. Hiruzen listened. I know, but I just... Hiyashi pushed a scroll forward. What's this? Hiruzen asked as he lifted the scroll up. This is a formula. It's the same type we Hyuga use, but with a good few alterations to it to protect our own seal. You can put this on him, and the control of the seal will be completely and utterly yours. The Hyuga won't have control over it. His Byakugan will be sealed, and nobody will be able to take them from him again. Hiruzen looked at the scroll and thought about it. I don't know. I know it seems cruel, but it's better to err on the side of caution, as opposed to letting things continue, and risk Kumo trying the same thing again. Hiruzen nodded. Hiruzen would knock on Naruto's door that very same day. Naruto would slowly open the door. It seemed he was still a bit traumatized, and was distrustful of strangers. Hiruzen offered a smile. Hello, Naruto. How are you today? Naruto was silent. Hiruzen would speak. I take it you're still bothered by what happened last night. Naruto nodded. Well, I actually wanted to talk to you about that, and a possible way that we might be able to better protect you. Would you like to hear about it? Naruto nodded again and let him in. As Hiruzen stepped in, he spoke. After what happened last night, Hiyashi Hyuga offered me some advice, but I don't wish to do anything without your approval first. Hiruzen sat down and sat Naruto upon his lap. Lord Hiyashi gave me something called a curse mark. And no, before you ask, it's not going to do anything bad to you. It's just a seal I can put on you that makes sure that nobody can ever again try to take your pretty little eyes. If you wish, I can plant it on you. But the question remains, do you even want me to do this? Naruto thought for a moment. Will it hurt? Hiruzen shook his head. No, you'll probably even forget it's there eventually. It'll protect you so that what happened last night won't happen again. Naruto then thought about it. If it'll keep the people who want to take my eyeballs from me away, then do it, Oji-san. And so, after getting Naruto's approval, Hiruzen would plant the curse mark on Naruto, telling him that he was proud of Naruto for protecting himself like this. Hiruzen even offered a little extra to the seal in that it could be disguised by the skin the same as the 8 trigrams that Naruto possessed on his abdomen. After the seal was added, Naruto was allowed to remain by himself. He was sure to let word get out that Naruto now had a curse mark placed on his Byakugan, same as the Hyuga, in hopes of deterring any more attempts on the boy's life. Hiyashi would get home from the Hokage's office and would return to his own. There, he'd be met by a Hyuga in disguise. The disguise dissipated as the Hyuga dropped a briefcase full of money on his desk. I emptied the faux bank account. Now our involvement in hiring those mercenaries to pose as Kumonin can't be traced back to us. Hiyashi counted the money. Nobody followed you? The Hyuga shook his head. Good, Hiyashi said. I know it was a drastic move we made, but Hiruzen needed to understand just how much danger Naruto was in. We can't leave a Byakugan like that unprotected. Enemies of the state will try to take it. Hiyashi then opened a hidden compartment and proceeded to take a secret ledger out of it. He would then go about burning the ledger to ash in his trash can, erasing all evidence that he had anything to do with that fake bank account. And now that the money was back in his possession, he could finally go back to solidifying assets to clean the money. Nobody will ever know, he said. For the next while, Naruto would attend the academy, where he'd proceed to be picked on for having a Byakugan as he did. But it would catch the eye of another student, one Hinata Hyuga, a sweet girl and the daughter of Hiyashi Hyuga. She had overheard her father mention a boy with the Byakugan who wasn't a Hyuga, and now she understood who it was. It just so happened to be that this boy was her biggest crush. And though he seemed self-conscious about his Byakugan, he wouldn't deactivate them. When Hinata asked him about it, Naruto stated that he didn't want to. The reason being that he wanted to get used to them and understand how they worked better. Hinata began to move, continuing to prod Naruto every so often, seeing what else they had in common. Naruto not only possessed the Byakugan of her clan, but he also possessed a particular facet of their Kekkei Genkai that allowed him to expel chakra from any and all tenketsu on his body, not too unlike a Hyuga. Despite the fact that she knew that Naruto was not a Hyuga and that it was forbidden to teach the techniques of the gentle fist to non-main branch families, especially if they weren't Hyuga, she did so anyway because Naruto was special. Not only did he possess everything that the Hyuga possessed, but he was also just very cute, and she quite liked him. Hinata herself was by no means a master of these arts, but what she did learn, she quickly taught Naruto. She helped him get a hold of these techniques and told him who to watch to learn more. She told him to pay attention to Neji, as Neji was a master despite not being main branch. And so anytime Neji was sparring or training by himself, Naruto would watch from a distance. Neji always knew that Naruto was there but continued to train anyway. Almost every time Neji did anything, Naruto was there watching from the distance. It got to the point where Neji was annoyed and asked Naruto why he continued to watch him. Naruto stated that he just wanted to learn the gentle fist techniques as well. Neji understood his meaning. Naruto did have the Byakugan, and so maybe he deserved the tools that let him make full use of it. Was he supposed to do that? No. Did he care what anyone in his clan thought about it? No. Neji himself wasn't even supposed to know this technique, and yet he did. He mastered it faster than Hinata ever thought about mastering it, and he wasn't afraid to let the main branch know he did it. After all, he blamed them for everything they had done to his father, Hisashi. He hated what they did to him. He hated what they had done to Neji himself. He hated the way they carried themselves, their strict nature, and the fact that they basically enslaved their own family to the rules that prohibited them from ever having a dream. Neji couldn't do much to rebel against the Hyuga and their useless, overly self-protected demeanor. If he could shake up their snow globe by giving Naruto everything that made the Hyuga who they were, then he would do it in a heartbeat. Maybe if he stripped the identity of the Hyuga would fall apart from the inside out, and then maybe Neji could be free. That was his hope, and that was the exact reason he began to carefully instruct Naruto in the ways of the gentle fist, even going so far as to teach him the 8 trigrams techniques. Naruto was not a quick learner, and Neji hated that, but Naruto did have determination, so anytime Neji showed him something, Naruto would practice until eventually he would get it, even if it took him quite some time. Eventually, by the time he was 12, Naruto had long since completed his training with Neji. His chakra control was impeccable, as Neji had trained him to do, and when it came time to graduate from the academy, Naruto quickly passed and was assigned to a team. But what team was he assigned to? None other than a team led by Kakashi himself. Both Kakashi and Yamato had been removed from the Anbu by Hiruzen after Naruto had been captured. It was too obvious that they were too great in their heart to be able to do what was needed to be done as Anbu. They were sensitive, even if they wouldn't admit it, and Hiruzen knew that the best thing they could do for them was to let them be free to make their own choices. And so that's exactly what he did. He set them free, and when the time for the next generation to take on a sensei opened up, Kakashi was quick to choose Naruto as his student. He also chose Sasuke out of guilt for not being able to stop Itachi from destroying his clan. Sakura, well, she had no personal connection to Kakashi as the other two did, but Hiruzen had promised that she had high potential as well, and so Kakashi was happy to take her on too. And so the day finally came that he should introduce himself to his new students. Kakashi slowly walked down the hall toward the classroom where his students were sent. He stood outside of the door for a moment and let out a sigh. He wasn't used to the idea of being a mentor yet. He had always been more of a loner. But to be honest, he sought a reason to make use of the lessons that both Obito and Minato sensei had taught him. And so, having got his bearings, he opened the door to peek his head through, only for a chalkboard eraser to fall upon him. Sasuke sat there with Sakura, both of their eyes in shock that such a prank would actually work. Naruto was laughing like a maniac. Kakashi sighed. I already hate you guys. And that's where I'm gonna pause it for today. I hope you enjoyed it. I wanted to do a little more to capture the Hyuga clan's darkness. They are indeed loyal to Konoha, but before that, it seems that they're even more loyal to keeping their secrets. The Hyuga are deadly and precise, and that was something I wanted to put on display here. I'm excited to see where Naruto is going to go from here with this, but that's for next time. If you enjoyed the video, please feel free to like, subscribe, and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos as they drop. And while you're at it, feel free to check out these other great videos from our channel. I'm sure you'll enjoy them. Anyway, until next time, peace out.